Hi, welcome to Performance Strategy at cima strategic level. Before we look at performance strategy, or we know it as risk and control strategy, let's look at the strategy part of it. What do you mean by a strategy? Why do we need a strategy? Strategy is the business game for an organization. Strategy is your plan for the future. In other words, how can you win the war whenever you have less soldiers? That is what strategy means. It's easy to win the war whenever you have more soldiers, whenever you have the best technology available, whenever you have the best tools available. It's easy to win the war. But strategy is all about winning the war, having less number of soldiers, not having the best technology available. So strategy is a key element for anyone, as an individual and as an organization and even as a country. So all of us should be having our strategic plan. It really doesn't mean that our 5-year plan or 10-year plan will work exactly as we plan. I would actually think it will never work. But yet, having a plan will give you some idea about what you should be doing in the future for different events that you are going to face in the future. Now, having said what that strategy is, if you look at most corporates, they do have a strategy. Only argument may be they are not shared it enough with the team. Only argument may be they do a strategy for the board presentation and keep it separated. But yet, most organizations, they do have a strategy. So, what we are going to discuss then? We are trying to discuss today the part of the strategy that has not given the importance that it should be getting. If you look at a strategic plan of any organization, there will be a corporate strategy on top, there will be a finance strategy, there will be a marketing strategy, there will be a production strategy, all are in place. But there is one, as I mentioned below, which gets lower priority, which is risk and control strategy. What do you mean by risk and control strategy? That means we push organizations, we push individuals, even countries, to look at the possible risk faced by them. Well, isn't that a negative thing? Isn't that a negative thing to look at the possible risk? It is. So the message here is not to look at the negative things and worry about them, but to look at the negative things and have a corrective action plan to correct them, to minimize the impact that you are going to get from them. So we need to do that as an individual, we need to do that as a country. Look at as an individual, how many of us would like to ask the question of the negative things that can happen to us? How many of us would like to ask the question, what happens if I lose my job? What happens if I have to leave the world? Well, these things are unlikely to happen in the near future, maybe. Maybe you are doing well in your job. There is no reason for you to lose the job, maybe. However, these are the possibilities that we need to think about. Again, let me repeat myself. We are not asking you to think about losing the job and worry about it continuously. We are asking you to look at the possibility of losing the job and take corrective actions so the impact of losing the job is minimized, or in other words, to reduce the likelihood of that particular negative event happening. So this is what the basic introduction to this particular subject, which we know as performance strategy, or the word risk and control strategy, will give a proper understanding of what we are supposed to be doing within the subject. Now, what we need to do is, we need to ensure we identify the possible risk faced by an organization and individual. How can we do that? We need to ensure we have a team working towards writing the possible risk faced by an organization. Why can't the operational people do that? Why can't the CEO get involved and write down the risk? Why can't the marketing director sit down and write down the risk? Why can't the production person cannot do it? The reason is they are with different objectives for them in their career. Being the production manager, the target, being the production director, the objective is maybe to achieve the best quality, maybe to ship the goods on time. maybe to increase the production efficiency, be the marketing director, it's the sales, it's the top line that he need to grow. Being the CEO, he need to be responsible for the top line and bottom line both. So these are the operational targets given for the operational staff. However, identifying the risk might slightly go against making more money, making more sales, improving production efficiency. Because in identifying the risk, you need to ask those negative questions. CEO, marketing director, finance director may be very happy about the new customer that they got. Everyone is talking about the positives about new customer. Everyone is talking about how they can meet the budgets. Everyone is talking about how they can make more money, how shareholders would be happier with the new customer. However, we need to ask that critical question, which is slightly a negative question, but yet we need to ask that question. What if we lose this customer? What if we lose this customer? So the point that we are trying to make is we need to ask these negative questions and ensure those negative events will not happen to us, or try to minimize the impact of it happening, or try to minimize the likelihood of it happening. So if you look at the organization, you need to realize it's the culture as well. It's not only a theoretical framework of, okay, please sit down and write the risk. It's not like that. It's the culture of the organization. Some organizations will never think about these negatives. I mean, let's look at the strategic level negatives, such as losing a customer, such as having a negative economic environment. They are at the strategic level. But look at the basic operational risk that we face. And we even sometimes don't look at these basic operational risks. Let me put it in a different way. There are certain complicated risks that can happen. If I take a possible risk of frauds, this is one of the risks only. If I take the possible risk of fraud, at the top level there may be a fraud of getting commission in the purchasing or even in the selling, which I think is a little complicated for anyone to check, which I think is a little complicated for anyone to go and verify. In other words, if someone is taking a commission in purchasing, it is a difficult thing to verify. I'm sure there will be 1,000 arguments. No, you're buying at the cheapest place, this is the best quality, this is the place that the competitors are buying. So it's difficult to prove. But look at the basic operational level risk. Since I'm discussing frauds, look at a salary fraud. Having an employee who is not actually physically working for the organization in the payroll, a basic risk. You take any book written 100 years ago about frauds, it's there. It's there in any book. It's a risk that all of us talked about. But look at how many organizations even today having the risk of salary fraud. How many organizations identified after some time in certain cases, realized that they had certain employees in the payroll, not in the operations, realized that they have been paying for the certain employees who are not actually working for the organization. So what I'm trying to highlight is it's the culture as well. It's not only a theoretical framework of what to do. It's the culture of the organization. CEO, the board of directors, finance director, operational heads needs to get together and realize there are risks around us. Even though it's a negative discussion, we got to have that discussion and we got to get ready for it. So all what I explained is the theoretical framework of performance strategy. Expect the unexpected and get ready for it. That's the message in short. That's the message in short. So how this particular theory that I explained would be applicable for the exam, which is performance strategy, the subject that has the lowest pass rate. Now, if you look at the exam strategic level, you will never ever get questions at the knowledge level or at the comprehension level. You will be getting your questions at the application and evaluation level. Let me clarify this. You take any basic theory, you take up SWOT analysis. Knowledge level based question from the SWOT analysis is define SWOT analysis. Comprehension level based means little bit above the knowledge level, where you must be able to define the SWOT analysis, but not enough. You must be able to explain what SWOT analysis is. You must be able to explain what you mean by a strength, weakness, opportunity, threat. That is what you call the comprehension level. But for the cima strategic level, you will not be getting questions on knowledge and comprehension level. Or, if at all, you will be getting questions for a small portion of the marks out of your 100 marks. On the exam day, the challenge is not to show your technical knowledge, but on the exam day, the challenge is to apply your technical knowledge. So if I go back to my same example of a SWOT analysis, knowledge-based level question would be defined SWOT analysis. But on the exam day, you will never get questions like that. You will be getting questions of applying your technical knowledge. So the questions that are possible is prepare a SWOT analysis for the company that is given in the case study. So the message in short is you will be getting questions at the application and evaluation level. Now, I have been discussing about identifying risk. I said we need to identify the risk. I said we need to identify the negative events that are possible. Now, on the exam day, what will happen? Examiner will never ask you the advantages of identifying risk. Examiner will never ask you. How to identify the risk? Examiner will never ask you. Examiner will ask you to do only one thing, which is the application of technical knowledge, which is identify the risk faced by this particular organization. Examiner will give you a case study, maybe 1.5 pages, can be based on the pre-scene, can be in part B, but the examiner will ask you to identify the biggest risk faced by the organization on that particular day. So, the bottom line message is this. For you to pass cima strategic level, having knowledge will never help you. Good to have the knowledge, but it will never help you to achieve the pass mark. What you need to do is you need to find ways to apply that knowledge to a real world company. cima is trying to build a person who can go to the real world company and survive there. In a real world company, no one will ask you, how can we identify risk? In real world company, your board of directors will be telling you, you please identify the risk and find out a control mechanism for that. So that's what you got to do on the exam day as well. That's what cima expect you to do on the exam day as well. So, having said this, having said that we need to identify the risk, having said that we need to look at the negatives and we need to reduce the impact and likelihood of negatives, how can we do that? What is the mechanism available for us to go and get this done? Well, there are many mechanisms available. There's a mechanism introduced by cima itself, which is known as cima's risk management cycle. And there are different mechanisms from the Institute of Risk Managers, Institute of Internal Auditors. But if you look at all these models, what you need to realize is get the basics from any model. Again, going back to the point that I raised before.